Welcome to the
Unpopular Opinions.
Unpopular opinions.
Have unpopular opinions.
Unpopular opinions.
Okay, so what's an unpopular opinion?
Unpopular opinions.
To utter such blasphemy. He's got the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to echo such blasphemous nonsense. Just blasphemy.
How's everybody doing today? This is your boy Jalen coming back with yet another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. And today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on this new NCAA policy. So stay tuned. Now, when you look at the NCAA, there is a lot of things that you can pinpoint what's wrong with it. From the fact that players can't benefit off of their name, the fact that the NCAA thinks it's okay, which, scholarships and stipends for players are good, but they think that is supposed to be, that's supposed to weigh out not getting paid. Look, the NCAA is a multi-billion-dollar company, and the fact that the players or the athletes can't make money off it, whether it's basketball, whether it's, football, hockey, anything, the fact that the players can't make money off it has always been a heavily scrutinized. And I'm one of the people that believe that why should the NCAA care what players do with their names or how players make money? Now, of course, if it's illegal way, then I understand that. But if I make money off of my name and it's not affecting A, how I play on the court, or B, my grades, why should it matter to the NCAA? Why should they be able to tell me, okay, if I even make a dime off of my name, I can get my eligibility revoked? I don't think that's a lot of people don't think that's right, and they've always been scrutinized for that. So one thing that the NCAA did was, I think yesterday they came out with a new policy, and in short, it's pretty much saying elite high school basketball recruits and college players can hire an agent while still playing for the NCAA. Underclassmen who either entered the NBA draft or go undrafted can return back to school. However, they're still waiting for the NBA and the NBPA, which is the National Players Association or National Basketball Players Association, to approve that. And 2 independent groups will be formed to resolve complex rule violation cases. So it's this, okay, to break it down for people that don't really understand, as you know, there are different, types of basketball players. There are, elite players. There are the players that, get seen from a lot of places. There are players that get invited to a lot of camps. There are players that go to multiple camps a year. And then there are players that, they're still good players, but might not be able to put in as much time or as much, probably aren't as good as the elite players, but still good. So what the rule is pretty much saying is that, or what the new NCAA policy is pretty much saying, that if you get invited, if you're still in high school and you get invited to a camp, to a Team USA camp, which is pretty much the top elite players in high school, you can hire an agent. And you can hire an agent and still play for NCAA. And then, if for whatever reason you don't get drafted, or you enter the draft and don't get drafted, you can come back. Now, in hindsight, that sounds really good. And that's a really good policy. The problem is that only works for elite players. And I was listening to Jay Billis, and he brought up a really good point. He brought up a really good player in the situation. What about a player like John Collins, the one who plays for Atlanta Hawks right now? John Collins was not a top recruit coming in, or when he went into Wake Forest. What if he would have went Oh, and if he would have went his first year, and this rule wouldn't have applied to him. This rule wouldn't have. He wouldn't have been able to come back to school. And it's just crazy. Like I said, in hindsight, it sounds good, but it doesn't help everyone. It doesn't help the players that, what happens if a player like Theo Pinson, who wasn't able to play for Team USA during, wasn't invited for high school, but he wanted to go his first year. He would not be able to come back. And this is really a money grab. This is really the NCAA, quote unquote, carrying another money grab, let me say, because the whole I can't use my name is the ultimate money grab, but this is just another one because, like I said, they care about their brand. If you look, a player like Trevor Duvall didn't get drafted this year. Under this new policy, he would be able to come back to school because he is a quote unquote elite player. However, if you look at John Stockton's son, who didn't get drafted, he wouldn't be able to. And when I say this is an ultimate money grab, because the NCAA care about their brand, which they should, and they want the best of the best to come. Now, of course, there are instances, like I said, with a Trevor Duvall, that players don't get drafted and they don't have any. They can't go back to school, so they're like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to let the best of the best so it doesn't really affect our brand too much. But anybody else that doesn't get drafted that tries to go, it's, no. Like a Joel Berry from North Carolina. This wouldn't affect because he wasn't a quote-unquote top 20 player. Like I said, Theo Pinson wasn't a quote-unquote top 20 player. So they wouldn't be able to go back under this new policy. But a Trevor Duvall or say someone like, I don't know, someone like Marvin Bagley, if he wouldn't have got drafted for whatever reason, he would be able to come back. But somebody like a Justin Jackson, before his last year at North Carolina, he wasn't viewed as a top 20 player. He wasn't viewed as a top, I don't know if he was top. He wasn't really viewed as a top 50 player. If he was probably like 48 or 49. He wouldn't have been able to come back. And if you're understanding what I'm saying, if you're not understanding what I'm saying is the NCAA, it's like taking, like Stephen A. Smith said, it's like taking 1 inch forward and 5 inches back. Because how are you going to say that, okay, I'll let you come back. You're going to hire an agent. You still can't make money, and that is where when they say 2 independent groups will be formed to resolve complex rule violations, you still can't we can get you an agent, but you still can't make money. You still can't sign a deal. The agent is pretty much there to talk to teams, but not allow, you can't talk to teams, and you still can't make any money. So if you do make a cent off of your name, you still can't, you're still going to be kicked out of the NCAA, but you can hire an agent. It's unfortunate, man. And I'm gonna say this. Now, I played college basketball. No, I wasn't, the greatest college basketball player ever. I wasn't the greatest hooper of all time. I'm not saying I was. I wasn't good. I mean, my skill set wasn't, good enough to be in the NCAA, and it definitely is not good enough to be in the NBA. But if I was under this rule, when I coming out of high school, I would be one of the players that, and of course I played a little bit of high school basketball, I wouldn't be able to come back if I decided, hey, if I hired an agent, I wouldn't be able to play because I wasn't a quote unquote elite high school basketball recruit or college player. Like I said, and I wasn't invited to Team USA, so that wouldn't apply to me. So I would feel slighted or feel some type of way if, a player that that is a little quote unquote better than me is able to do everything I can't do, but we put in the same amount of work, playing college. We, went to the same practices. We did all that. So if I wanted to go play or try out for the NBA, they'll tell me, "Oh no, you can't come back." Which is just crazy to me. That I never understand that, and it's wild. And it goes back to exactly what I was just saying. The NCAA cares about their brand. They want the top players, so we don't stop watching them. Even though most people don't really watch NCAA until March, but they don't want their brand to be tarnished. And Coach Calipari did an interview for ESPN, I believe, and he brought up a really good point as well. What happens if, because the recruiting process and the NBA draft, that takes so long. What happens if I'm a top player? I am, I'm just throw a player. I'm a top player, and I enter the draft, and then the scholarship that was for me, my coach or the team gives it to somebody else, because it's just money sitting there, and you want the best of the best players, and you don't want to have put the organization hostage. You don't want to hold the organization hostage because you want to wait for me to see if I'm getting drafted or not. So, and you don't want some of the best recruits to you don't want to miss out because you're waiting on me. So the scholarship money or the scholarship position that was for me, you give to somebody else. But then I don't get drafted and I want to come back. So then there's no more scholarship money. So I can't afford to go to school. I can't afford to play on the team. It just like I said, it sounds good in hindsight, but it's still unfair, and it still really shows that the NCAA only cares about money. Because if they didn't care about money, they would let this rule. They would have this rule for everybody. Now, of course, you would have to do some regulations, because I think everybody would try to go to the NBA draft, and that just wouldn't work. But the stipulation can't be you have to be an elite player and you have to be an elite college player. That just doesn't work, because like I said, there's Scott Van Pelt said a good one too. What about Kevin Huerter from University of Maryland? Kevin Huerter was never, I'm not gonna say never, his whole college tenured, he was never a quote unquote elite player. He was never a quote unquote elite player coming out of high school. But he ends up getting drafted top 20. If under this rule, if he wouldn't have been eligible to come back. Now, of course, he got drafted, which is good, but this rule would never apply to him. He wouldn't be able to hire an agent because he wasn't a quote unquote elite player or elite college player. He just so happened to get drafted top 20. So, like I said, Kevin Huerter wouldn't be able to prosper over this new rule, and that's not that to me is not right. John Collins, like I said, from Wake Forest, that plays for Atlanta now, he wouldn't be able to benefit off this rule, and that's crazy to me, because how can you really gauge what NBA teams want? How can you really gauge what players are gonna pop and what players aren't gonna pop? You start out from the NBA. Nobody saw Donovan Mitchell being one of the top rookies in the league last year. Coming out of Louisville, he wasn't the best shooter. He took terrible shots. He wasn't the best defender. He was athletic. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't a good player, because he still got drafted, but he wasn't. Nobody viewed him as a possible rookie of the year. Nobody viewed him as a runner-up for rookie of the year. Nobody did. So how do you know what players are gonna pop and what players aren't gonna pop? Some players just are in terrible high school positions. My high school coach, I don't care if you're listening or not, he didn't want to play a lot of people. He had quote unquote favorites. Not saying that he wasn't a good coach, because accolades speak for himself, but he had favorites. So some players that were really good didn't play as much as other players who might have had the bigger name. You know what I'm saying? So how can you and for another example is, what if I am a Harry Giles, right? Harry Giles, in my last high school year, I break my leg or tear my ACL, unfortunately, knock on wood, for any player. I tear my ACL, so then I don't get invited to Team USA. When I don't get invited to any camps because I don't, I have to spend the whole summer and the whole year rehabbing. How is it that you can then tell me, okay, we understand what you did from freshman year to junior year, but because you didn't get invited to Team USA or you didn't get into any high-level camps because of your injury, well, they're not going to say because you're injured. They're going to say because you didn't get invited to any top camps, this rule doesn't apply to you. So now Harry Giles, who might or might not, I don't know, can't afford school, is just it then just ruins any chance of him getting to the NBA, which in turn completely alters his family's trajectory in life. That just isn't right. And then imagine if, these are all hypotheticals, but imagine if Harry Giles then recovers and gets back to full strength and goes to Duke. Somehow he's able to make it to Duke, but then yet he doesn't have the greatest season. So then he can't go and say, you know what, I want to hire an agent and go to the draft because he wasn't a top elite player. Now, I'm not saying this is really what happens, but this is all hypothetical. Then Harry Giles would be like, okay, I want to because they saw what I did from freshman year in high school to junior year. They saw what I did in AAU, and they saw that I was able to rehab and come back and play for Duke. So they know my track record, quote unquote. So I'm gonna hire an agent. But because he wasn't a, elite high school player or elite college player, he's just going off of, merit. Then and he doesn't get drafted, he can't come back. And if he can't come back, while he can't come back, Coach K gives his scholarship to somebody else because he doesn't want to wait to see if Harry Giles can come back. So at that point, Harry Giles is right back at square one, and he can't make it to the league, and he can't play college football, basketball, which means he can't afford to go to school, which means he is, for lack of a better term, ass out. It sounds good, and it's a great policy. I'm not gonna say great. It's a good policy, but it's one step forward and 3 steps back. This policy should be for everyone. This policy should be able to, everybody that doesn't make it should be able to come back, or everybody should be able to hire an agent. Everybody should be able to make money off their name. That in of itself is a whole nother topic. But I should be able to make money off of Jalen Hunter while playing for, I don't know, North Carolina or something. If it doesn't affect the school, if I'm not doing it in an illegal way, or if it doesn't affect my grades or doesn't affect how I play on the court, I should be able to make money. But again, that's neither here nor there. Another thing I want to talk about, and this is of course relating to the topic, is the NCAA made this rule without talking to not only the NBA or Team USA or the National Basketball Players Association or NBPA. They made this rule without talking to them. This affects them as well. So what happens if, okay, so the only way that you can hire an agent, and if you don't get drafted, go back, is if you were invited to Team USA. Now Team USA has to really be strategic and see, okay, who am I going to invite and who am I not going to invite? Because there's some players that don't get invited, i.e. a Kevin Huerter, that you can be on their radar, but because you didn't get invited and a team might not look at you, you might have to go back to school, and you can't go to school. So instead of him being, okay, let's see what he does his second or third year in college, or his second year in college, he can't do anything. So instead of recruiting him for another year or looking at him for another year and hoping teams can be like, okay, he got a little better, so I'm going to draft him now. Now he's going to struggle in getting back into school because he wasn't invited in Team USA in high school, so he can't. This policy doesn't affect him. So now they're like, okay, who are we going to invite and who we not going to invite? Or the NBA is going to be, because the NBA has a little part of that too. It's going to be like, okay, if I want to look at a Jalen, if I want to look at a Jalen Hunter, but I don't want to lose him to this rule, I'm just going to invite him anyway. But a little Christian over here, Christian Sandoval or something, who is a top 5 player, and he's going to, or you automatically think he's going to be a one and done. He then doesn't get invited. But in the season of first knock on wood, first game, he breaks his leg, tears ACL, and he doesn't get drafted. Then he can't go back to school. It's funny to me, and it's wild to me that the NCAA can make a rule that not only affects them as in the NCAA, but affects the NBA and Team USA as well, without even acknowledging or talking to Team USA or the NBA before making this decision. And it just behooves me that they say that they care about their athletes, and their athletes are the most important thing. We give them stipend, we give them top of the line facilities, we give them scholarships, which is all good and dandy. But if I am a if I'm a DeAndre Ayton, if I'm a Marvin Bagley who is just playing the Drew League almost every summer, or if I'm a Luka Doncic who playing wants to come over and play NCAA, but I can't because I made money playing for Real Madrid, that doesn't work. And it just screams hypocrisy. It screams greed. And this policy really it is dressed as in, like, it looks like it's helping the players, but it's only helping a class. Like Jay Billis said, it's only helping a class instead of a sport. It's only helping a top 25 or top first round picks, but it's not helping the player. It wouldn't help a Luke May. That is a perfect example. This would not help a Luke May. North Carolina right now, this would not help him. But it would help a Zion Williamson. It would help a RJ Barrett. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right at all. Again, two steps forward. One step forward, 3 steps back. It sounds good and it sounds all well and dandy, but if you really look at this policy, this only hurts. This helps about 1 to 2% of the college basketball, and hurts everybody else. And it really doesn't help the 2% much, because say that 2% doesn't get drafted, and the coach or the school gives the scholarship that was waiting for them to somebody else because they don't want to be tied down and they don't want to miss a great opportunity to get a good player. So now that player is, like I said, for lack of a better term, ass out, and they don't know how they're going to pay for school. They don't know how they're going to get back into school. And the roster position is filled now. So the team roster is filled, so they can't even come back to the team. And it's no lie, and it's no secret that some college players aren't mentally ready or mentally able to be quote unquote college students. They're just going to play basketball. So what if those players can't come back? Then what do they do? And it's I don't like this new rule because it doesn't help everybody. It doesn't help everybody at all. And it really screams money grab before it screams helping out the players. I don't like it at all. But if you disagree with me, of course you can leave in the comments. This is one I would like to know how people feel. I would like to know how you feel about the new rule. I would like to know, especially if you played any type of college basketball, NCAA, NAIA, D1, D2, anything. I want to know how you feel about this rule. So, leave it in the comments. If you have my number personally, you can hit me up to let me know how you feel. You can leave it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I don't care. I want to know how y'all feel because I don't like this rule. This rule doesn't help everybody, and this rule really it helps a 1%, and there's a 99% that still are struggling under this new rule. So there you have it. That is another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I want to thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned. The next one I'm going to do, just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. It's going to be a dandy. So, I hope you guys have a great whatever you guys are doing, and I will see you later. Much love.
I heard you were looking for me.
Hey, Mr. Carter.
Hello.
Tell me, where have you been?
You know.
They've been asking, they've been searching, they've been wondering why.
I know.
Hey, Mr. Carter.
Hey, hello.
Tell me, where have you been?
Shit, you know.
They've been asking, they've been searching, they've been wondering why.
Yeah, to you forever, from me to you. I heard somebody say, Church, I'ma need a suit, I'ma need a coupe, I won't need a roof. Flyer than Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. I got the flow, I'm trying to see the roof. Didn't wear bulletproof, so I got shot and you can see the proof.